Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're looking at something that's super relevant for all you future IAS officers out there.
Yeah.
We're talking about private members' bills in the Indian Parliament.
Okay.
Now, you've probably seen this term
Right.
in your polity textbooks, but we're going a little deeper today.
Yeah.
We're going to figure out why these bills, which are designed to give power to individual MPs, not just the ministers, why they seem to be kind of disappearing. And here's the kicker. Get this. Not a single one, not one has been passed since 1970.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're going to unpack this trend and figure out why it matters for you as a UPSC aspirant.
Sounds good.
Now, to help us break down all the details of these private members' bills,
Sure.
we have an expert with us today.
Yeah.
Could you maybe start us off by explaining in simple terms, like what exactly are these bills?
Yeah, sure. So imagine you're an MP, you're passionate about a particular issue, and you want to introduce a law to address it, but you're not a minister. So that's where private members' bills come in. They give a platform to those MPs who aren't part of the cabinet to actually propose legislation.
So it's a way to make sure that all those different voices and ideas in Parliament actually get heard.
Exactly. It's all about representation beyond just party lines.
And that's something that's really important for UPSC aspirants to understand, right?
Absolutely.
Like, it shows how Indian democracy works in practice.
Yeah, and the process itself, it's pretty structured. The MP drafts the bill, they give notice to the Parliament, and then it gets introduced for debate.
Okay.
And if it gets enough support and passes through all these different stages, it can actually become law. That's the ideal scenario, of course.
Yeah, in theory.
Right.
And as we said, it's been a while since we've actually seen that happen.
Yeah.
This reminds me of a really interesting historical example.
Okay.
The bill that was introduced after Prime Minister Shastri passed away in 1966.
Oh, right.
And this bill actually wanted to amend the Constitution.
It did.
Can you tell us more about that one?
Yeah, so H.V. Kamath, who was a Lok Sabha member, he proposed that only members of the Lok Sabha should be eligible to become the prime minister.
Oh, wow.
And, this sparked a huge debate about the powers of both houses of parliament and even that balance between the executive and legislative branches.
It really shows how these private members' bills can bring up those really complex constitutional questions.
Yeah, they do.
So now that we understand the basics, let's talk about this declining trend. It's kind of worrying that only 14 of these bills have passed since independence.
It is.
And none since 1970. What do you think is going on here?
Well, if we look at the data from PRS legislative research, it's pretty clear there's been a consistent drop in the time that's actually dedicated to discussing these bills.
In both houses?
Yeah, in both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Basically, Parliament just isn't giving these individual initiatives as much time as it used to.
And I've also noticed that they're often scheduled for Friday afternoons.
Oh, yeah.
It just makes you think, how many MPs are actually going to be engaged in those discussions?
Right, when the weekend's just around the corner.
Exactly.
It does kind of send the message that they're not as important as the government's business. But I think this goes even deeper, this lack of discussion time. Could it be that we're seeing a decline in parliamentary engagement as a whole?
That's something to think about. Let's switch gears a bit and talk about why this should matter to a UPSC aspirant.
Okay.
Someone who wants to serve in the Indian Civil Services. Why should they care about this decline?
This is all about understanding how the Indian political system works, which is a huge part of the UPSC syllabus.
Right.
Imagine you get a question in the mains exam about the Indian Parliament or how laws are made. Having a deep understanding of these private members' bills, that could really give you an edge.
It could. And don't forget all those historical examples, the procedural details. That's all valuable stuff for prelims questions, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know what little bit of knowledge might give you an advantage. Okay, so we've talked about why this is important. Now, the big question is, what can we do to bring these bills back to life? Is there any hope for them?
Well, there are definitely some ideas out there. One suggestion I've seen is to move the discussions from Fridays to a midweek slot.
Okay.
That might encourage more participation and more genuine engagement.
It makes sense, right?
It does.
It's about recognizing the value of these individual initiatives and giving them the space they deserve in the whole parliamentary process.
Exactly. Because a healthy democracy needs diverse voices to participate. And protecting that space for independent thought within the parliament is absolutely crucial.
And that's something every aspiring civil servant should care about.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about what private members' bills are, why they've been declining,
Right.
and some ideas for how to revive them. But here's one last thought for you all to consider. Could there be even deeper reasons for this decline? Maybe something to do with how power dynamics work within political parties, or even how public discourse has changed. I really encourage you to explore that further. You might be surprised by what you find. And if you found this deep dive helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. We'll keep bringing you these insights to help you ace those UPSC exams. Until next time.